Hey guys, my name is Eric and I'm the founder of Daily Fantasy Nerd. We're going to go over day 2 of the FanDuel Partners Basketball Championship and how I put together my lineup using Daily Fantasy Nerd. So let's go ahead and get started. We can take a look at the Vegas odds first to get a general picture of today's games. You can see that the Washington-Philly game has the highest over-under along with the Clippers and Kings. And we have a little bit of blowout risk with this game as well as the Bulls and Hawks game. Also, Derrick Rose is questionable, so if he's out, this line could potentially move even more in Atlanta's favor. So it's something to be wary of if we're picking players from that game. Next, I like to get a sort by likes, which is Daily Fantasy Nerds liked players by all of our users, and it's a good way of getting a general picture of potential chalk plays for the day. I also like to sort by value, which is our bang for buck, or essentially fantasy points per $1,000. And you typically want to try target over 5x, which would give you at least a score of 250 fantasy points on FanDuel. So I'll sort by each position, and what I like to do is get a general idea of positional scarcity on any given day. So we can see we only have 2 players and a few more that are close to 5x at the point guard position. There's a little bit more value at the shooting guard position. Small forward is kind of scarce with just Barnes above 5. Power forward, there's a good amount of value here. And center is pretty scarce. So we're probably going to go with probably a cheap punt play at the center position today. Usually if there's a good center, like a top tier center play, I'd probably lock them in. And so Horford is somebody I would consider. But given that this game is potentially a blowout, I'm a little bit more concerned about it. Like that was actually what happened last time the Hawks played against Chicago. Other than that, he's actually been playing a lot and has a lot of upside. So he and Horford also has done well against the Bulls in the past. So I like Horford, but I'm a little bit wary, especially if Rose is out. So that might keep me away from him. So that's somebody to keep an eye on. So if we go position by position, I really like CP3. He's been picking up a lot more field goal attempts and minutes with Blake Griffin out. High Vegas odds and a very weak Kings defense. So that looks pretty good. Conley is someone that I'm really high on today. Again, he's playing the Lakers. He just destroyed them last time out. He hit 6x value in under 30 minutes. And this time the Grizzlies are playing at LA. And so the Vegas line is closer than it was last game where it was at Memphis. So I really like Conley. So I'm going to lock in Conley for today. The other options I was looking at is Schroeder. I think he's like a kind of a pump play for today. He's been taking a lot of shots lately. If you've watched his games, he's kind of gone crazy because he kind of plays a Jamal Crawford-like role lately, where he's just chucking up shots. You can see it's like over 10 field goal attempts a game. John Wall against Philly is always a high upside play, but he hasn't been playing that many minutes lately, so I'm probably going to steer clear of him. Kyrie looks good. He's been doing really well last 5-game fantasy point average, and D'Angelo Russell also looks pretty good since he's been starting lately. But I really like Conley because he's playing against that weak defense. And most likely I'm going to go with CP3, but I'm just going to lock Conley in for now and let the optimizer spit out the rest after I get my core locks in. So shooting guard, I really love Redick. Last time out we played, was it Danny Green against the Kings defense? As I mentioned previously, the Kings allow the most 3-point field goal attempts in the league, and most of those are open, and so that's why the DVP against shooting guards is so high. And basically you want to target 3-point shooters against the Kings, and that's exactly what Redick is. Beal actually looks pretty good against a weak Philly D with high Vegas odds. and his minutes have actually been on the rise. He played 34 minutes last game. This stretch here, the Washington played 3 back-to-back games, and so that's why his minutes were probably a little bit lower than they usually would be. So he looks pretty good. Fournier looks really good. He's been the model of consistency, playing basically like 40 minutes a game. Even this game would have been higher if the Warriors didn't blow them out. So I'm going to lock in Fournier here. I was also looking at Jamal Crawford for the same reason as Redick. He has a lot of upside with the Kings weak D. The one hesitant is that Jeff Green has just joined the Clippers for like the last 2 or 3 games, and it's hard to say if he's going to be eating more into Crawford's usage rate. The other candidate at shooting guard would be Etuan Moore. With Jimmy Butler out, he's getting a lot more minutes. You can see that here. And he's getting a lot more field goal attempts. Derrick Rose is questionable, so if he's out, then Etuan Moore should theoretically get more run. But the only reason I'm hesitant about him is Derrick Rose sat out last game, and Etuan Moore only got 29 minutes. But he's been killing value despite that. I would just be a lot more comfortable with him if he was playing, if I knew he was going to play like 32 plus minutes with Derrick Rose out. So he's somebody that I'm keeping an eye on, but I think, you can see it in the like counts here if I just sort by likes again. Fournier and Redick are, I think, very clear plays at the shooting guard position today. Let's go to small forward. Matt Barnes, very clear play. He's playing against a weak Lakers defense. This is actually the same play I made 2 days ago, and Matt Barnes just really destroyed the Lakers. So I like him again. Again, the spread's going to be closer today because it's at LA. So other plays I was looking at, Wesley Johnson looks decent. He has good Vegas odds, weak defense. And I would actually like him. The only reason I might steer clear of him is, again, because of Jeff Green. And Jeff Green's minutes have been on the rise. And you can see that Wesley Johnson's minutes have been steadily decreasing. And so Paul Pierce is actually out today. So if Jeff Green wasn't in the picture, I would be all over Wesley Johnson. But given that it's kind of unclear what the rotation looks like, even with Pierce out, I'm going to probably stay away from Wesley Johnson. Otherwise, there's not too much value at small forward today. And I think today, if I just sort by the highest floor, this is what I like to do when I'm looking at kind of the top dogs to pick from today. You can see here that the highest floor is we calculate by taking the season average minus 1 standard deviation. So you can expect a player to hit above at least their floor over 85% of the time, assuming a normal distribution. And so you can see LeBron is $800 cheaper than DeMarcus Cousins, but pretty much has the same floor. And he has basically 6-point floor higher than John Wall, despite only being $200 more expensive. And the same kind of applies to CP3. So I'm probably going to lock in LeBron today. So even though he has kind of a worse DVP against Toronto, the fact that this is going to be a close game probably means that LeBron's going to play a little bit more minutes. We have him projected at 37 minutes. And I think that's pretty fair if you look at kind of some of the close games that have been happening. So LeBron's going to be a really safe play. I'm not expecting a ton of upside from him. He's not going to hit like 6x value from him, but I think he's a very solid 4.5x floor. In most cases, he's going to hit 5x in a close game. So I'm going to lock in LeBron. So if we go back to the small forward position, we have Barnes and LeBron locked in. And power forward, I like Kristaps. He's been relatively inconsistent on the season, and you can see that in his low floor. But if we look at his game log, he's been getting a lot more consistent minutes lately, barring this one game against Minnesota where the head coach basically sat him for getting in early foul trouble, and I don't even think he played that much in the second half. So we'll treat this as a one-off. Otherwise, he's getting, easily low 30s, mid 30s minutes wise. So that's pretty solid. Otherwise, I really like Zach Randolph as well. Again, weak Lakers defense with Marc Gasol out. He's picking up more field goal attempts and he's getting more minutes than season average. Millsap, I think Daily Fantasy Nerd users like him. I'm a little bit hesitant on because of the potential blowout risk. Last time they won by 23, and with Derrick Rose potentially out, or right now he's questionable, that's concerning to me. Plus, for some reason, he's been really inconsistent in minutes lately, and that's not what you want when you're playing somebody that's in that $8,000 range. Miles Turner looks really good to me. He's been very consistent, although he had that poor game last time against Charlotte, so that's slightly concerning. But he's been taking a lot of field goal attempts relative to his season average, and you can see that here. His field goal attempts has been really going up. He had 20 field goal attempts, and I think this last game, 24 points. Well, he had some higher scoring games here, but he's been doing really well, so I like him. I also really like Aaron Gordon. The one downside is he's playing against the Knicks, which the reason the DVP is so poor is because he's going to be guarded by Porzingis. And Porzingis is really lanky, gets a lot of blocks. So if you just look at his game log, this is just exactly what you're looking for. And I would love him. He'd be like an auto lock if he weren't playing against Porzingis. So those are kind of my power forward options. I'm not going to lock anybody in because I like a lot of these options here today. So let's take a look at center. Brandon Wright, solid play against the Lakers. He did really well against them last game. His minutes are probably on the rise since he was just coming back from injury. Mahimi, he's been getting more minutes as well. You can see he's getting 31 minutes or so lately. He's been a solid play lately. I don't love him, but I don't hate him. Horford, I think this is kind of the same thing as Millsap, where I'm concerned about the blowout risk. The good thing is his historical matchup has been really good against Chicago. And I think that might even include playing against Noah from last season. Our opponent's average stat here is from the last 2 seasons. I'm just concerned about this blowout potential with Rose questionable right now. I do really like that he's been playing, aside from that Chicago game, he's been playing 38, 39 minutes plus. If you exclude this 5 minutes of OT, that's 39 minutes as well. So I like Horford barring that injury potential. DeAndre Jordan, I kind of like, mostly because with Blake out, he and CP3 have to do the heavy lifting. The other guy I really like is Marcin Gortat. Great DVP, high Vegas odds, and historically he's done really well against the 76ers. My concern with him is that he's been playing 30 minutes max for the last 7 games or so. And so if I knew he was getting consistently 32 to 34 minutes, he'd be an auto lock for me as well. But it seems like he's been getting less minutes. I'm not sure if that's coinciding with Beal's injury return and Beal picking up more minutes, or just the fact that they're shifting up their rotations. So I'm a little bit concerned about Gortat. Yeah, so that's kind of a breakdown of my locks. I'm going to go ahead and give a spin to see what we get with the initial run. So this looks pretty good. It has pretty much everybody I was talking about. Millsap, as I mentioned, I'm a little bit concerned about because of the potential blowout risk if Rose is out and his inconsistent minutes lately. So I'm going to exclude Millsap and see what we get. All right. So this looks pretty good to me. I really like Porzingis and Zach Randolph at the power forward positions. They're basically the top 2 values, very good high likes, good DVP for Randolph, and Porzingis is with the high amount of minutes that he's playing, His per minute usage and defensive stats are just really good. So Mahimi, like again, I don't love him. I don't hate him. There's just not really that many great center options today, and at this point, I really like pretty much everybody else, outside of the center position. So I'm okay punting. I think I would like Brandon Wright over Mahimi, but given the way that the rest of the rosters worked out, I'm okay with going with Mahimi as a punt option. I really like CP3. I locked in LeBron. So that's kind of how I put together the lineup for today. I hope this video was instructive for you. And if you haven't had a chance to sign up, you can sign up for Daily Fantasy Nerd by going to our homepage and clicking Get Started Free. Good luck!